Okay, so today I am joined by Ciaran Clarke, who is back at the Bellator Champion Series. As usual, back in Ireland for another event. It feels like it wouldn't be Bellator running back as we kind of hoped it would be if you weren't involved in some kind of way, mate. So I'm sure you're excited to get back out there and do your thing in Bellator like you've been doing for, well, pretty much your whole pro career. So
Yeah, man, of course, and like that, it's just great that they're getting the ball rolling now with this Bellator Champion Series, and no better way to kick it off with an Irishman like Carl Moore topping the card. James is back. Nate Kelly, the two Nate Kellys are on the card. Myself, yeah, it's going to be a great card, man. I'm really fortunate to be involved in it, and yeah, change the scenery as well. It's up the north of the country this time, and yeah, out of Dublin, and yeah, so really looking forward to it, man.
Um, one of the things that I went back and watched your last fight and then listened to what you had to say afterwards, and I believe that did your contract run out with Bellator in November?
Yeah, so the contract ran out in November. That would have been 2 years since I signed. So that contract would have been my second contract with Bellator. That was a 2 year contract or six fights. So it just happened to be that it was 2 years ran out, and that was my fifth fight in the contract. So it's either six fights or 2 years, and it was ended up in 2 years. So that was my last fight. Obviously, we come out in about May that year, last year, that they were selling. So I was like, okay, I don't know where this leaves me. You know what I mean? So I was just like, right, get the win. You're 8-0. See what happens. And then yeah, straight away after the fight, then I was like, oh, they're re-signing. I was like, what? What's going on here? Like they were, it was all sold and the whole lot. So I hadn't really a clue what was going on there. And but anyway, I was happy to be involved then, because yeah, that was it then going forward. It was like, okay, right, let's go. This is the plan in place now going forward next year. And like that they're actually throwing out a schedule there recently. I don't know if people seen, so they're coming back to Dublin in June, they're going to San Diego in September, London September, Chicago maybe October. There's all these events that have been announced, and that's great for me, So yeah, like that. I think yeah, happy days.
I'm sure there was another fighter. I want to say it was Fabian Edwards, but I can't remember for sure. That similarly to yourself, but I think that he actually made it public at the time. That right around the time where people were saying, that card that you fought on, people were saying, "Is this the last Bellator card?" Like no one knew what was going to happen when things. It's pretty obvious that it was going to be announced, but nobody knew when, what that would mean for Bellator. And I think it was Fabian or somebody like that had come out and been like, I've resigned. So I don't know. Like clearly there was something happening because they wouldn't be re-signing everyone just for then the contracts to get bought out by somebody else and stuff. It was all very strange. But like at that time, was it it's a strange position to be in, right? Because I guess, like you said, you're looking at it from just like, well, I'll just get another win on my record, and then at least that's it's a good little like shop window to be in case this Bellator thing does never come back. At least I'm coming off of a win. I've just fought. People are going to be thinking about me like when people think of Bellator, they'll go, oh yeah, Ciaran Clarke won on that last card. You're one of the first names that comes to mind.
Yeah, of course, like that. And it was like, right, look, I'd rather be 8-0 than 7-1, starting to think about what's next, and that's all I was focusing on. It was like a lot of people throwing like things at me like, oh, what's next, and if you're 8-0, what's next? And I was just like, look, I'm not 8-0 yet. I have to win this fight. I have to be another tough lad, and that's all I did was focus on that. And then obviously, then here we are. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, all right, because they re-signed like Sergio Pettis and Patchy Mix, and that was even before the sale. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. So it was all a little bit in the air, but like that, it was just put all the distractions aside and go in and get the win. So
Is it a frustrating thing with people constantly? I imagine you get those kind of questions a lot of what's next? When are you going to be doing this? When are you going to be doing that? Right? Because the fact that we've seen you come through so many of these Bellator fights, it's always like, okay, but when are you doing this? When are you doing that? Instead of just picking up the wins, like most people, when they make it to a promotion like Bellator, it's already they've already had that groundwork laid, right? So you're straight into big things, whereas you've worked your way up through the entire promotion, like step by step. Is it annoying that people want to fast track you a little bit, or like do you? I imagine at this point you just take it in your stride because you're used to from the very first Bellator win, people being like, "Oh, when are you going to be in the top five?" Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think maybe now I'm at the stage where it's like that I can get that talk because this my eighth fight. I have 8 fights with them. I have the longest win streak of some of the most in the company. I think it might be even third. Like it's like 8 fight win streak. I know it's the longest reigning Irish fire win streak. So like I get that now, but like a year or two ago, I was like, look, I'm here in Bellator. I'm like, I know if somebody else was 5-0, 6-0, like they might be, but like I started my pro career in Bellator, so I was climbing the ranks, and now I get it. Like, right, if I get a win here, I'm 9-0, and it's like a, a little bit, it's like limbo now at the minute because it's great. There's two opportunities. There's Bellator and there's PFL, and obviously, there's them two avenues because obviously, as we all know, we're all PFL fighters. Some of us are going to go to Bellator route, some of us going PFL. So there's more opportunities. But as far as like clear cut um, hat, I don't know where I go next. And again, like I said, all I'd rather be is 9-0, thinking about that, and to be in that position to start talking to people. So that's all I'm really focused on. So I have a job to do now next week, and that's where I'm at. So I suppose we'll have a better conversation after that, and please God, more opportunities then come your way and stuff as well.
was there ever a conversation had about whether you were going to go over to the PFL side? Because I've heard from various people. I believe that the original plan was that there would be a conversation with each fighter about what they wanted to do, but I don't know if that ended up happening. And I feel like there are benefits and drawbacks for the PFL in having you be on the PFL, Europe or whatever they decided to do, but also having you on these Bellator cards because you've been such a big part of Bellator growing such a big fan base in Ireland and just consistently putting on shows there.
Yeah, no, it was like I said, it was just Bellator. I was dealing with Bellator straight away after the last fight, and I was like, what's going on here? So again, like that, it was a bit puzzling for me. Obviously signed the contract. Um so I think like the way it's looking like, again, like I said, we're all PFL fighters, say, but some of us going to be, fighting the route of Bellator, and some of us will be fighting the route of both. Maybe you're after seeing a teammate of mine, Pedro Carvalho. He's fighting on the lightweight tournament or the featherweight tournament. Sorry. So and then you have like Daniele Scatisi. He's at the going over to PFL Europe, which was Bellator. So like Nate Kelly's the two Nates are fighting in the Bellator. They were PFL. So the avenues are open there. But for me, it was definitely the conversation was Bellator, and again, I just think the way it is, it's like the two avenues are open there, the two promotions are there to be fought on, which is great. It just means more shows, more opportunities, and yeah, it's only a good thing.
Had they come to you and offered you the chance to be, if they had said to you, we're going to be doing two Ireland shows with Bellator, we want you to be on those, and then potentially, like you said, one of the other dates, right, London or some of the American dates they're doing for the Bellator series, or had said, do you want to go into the PFL Europe and do that route this year? Like, I feel like there's benefits and drawbacks to picking either option, and I feel like the PFL Europe, they seem to have picked guys that maybe the kind of European audience aren't so familiar with, so that they can, you can watch them fight a few times a year and then start to familiarize yourself. Whereas, like I said earlier with you, we've watched literally every single pro fight you've had in Bellator. So I don't feel like maybe the stature that you bring isn't really what they're looking for PFL Europe at this stage, maybe. But had you had the option, if they come to you, what would you have picked out of pure curiosity? Like you said, I'm sure the opportunity to compete on PFL will be there for you in the near future anyway. So it's not like an ultimatum, but just curious.
Yeah, no, I think the the one thing I said when I was re-signing with Bellator was I want I want that at Dublin for the next one. So I got Belfast. It's a bit away, but I wanted that at Dublin. I wanted out of Dublin. You know what I mean? I just felt I was going to the well too many times. I needed to relight the motivation. It was like um, nothing to do with getting better or the sport or anything, but it was more the event itself. I was getting a bit fatigued from the event, and you know that event itself is it's a big magnitude for an Irish fighter, and we've seen the wins and losses some lads have picked up, and the great wins and the such lows, and yeah, I just felt that was it for me. I was like, I don't care where it is or what comes your way. I want to out of Dublin. I want to spread my wings. You know what I mean? And I got Belfast. Fair enough. Happy days. There's a lot less going into this one. What do I mean is like I used to have to physically sell tickets for the Dublin, and it was like that was a major stress. 300 plus tickets, organizing these things, and then you're trying to prepare for a fight. It was it was a lot, And then I had one fight outside of Dublin in Paris, and it felt like a spar. You know what I mean? It was like it was so relaxed and just it was deadly, man. It was deadly, So I just want that again, and I'm getting that now, of course, in Belfast, still home ground. But yeah, next like Dublin in June for me, I'm like it's too close to this one to do the June one. I would be more looking at like September, San Diego or September London, something like that. You know what I mean? Again, like I said, um, just to build even like I felt like the crowd the last time wasn't as much. It was just like I feel if they were to get me, somewhere else and here and there, and it was like, oh, you have to get the win over there, and now you're coming back to Dublin, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
deadly, it would build the interest, and that's what I felt, and I really feel that now. I feel I love Belfast, I love San Diego in September, and then maybe if they're not coming back to Dublin, and then maybe another one, we'll see. I don't know how it's going to work, but like that's what I'd like, I mean, I've been very vocal since my professional debut that I want to get abroad, so I think that'd be definitely the focus for me, But to answer your question, I was just dealing with Bellator, so it didn't come my way about PFL and stuff. And the PFL tournament, don't get me wrong, it's something that I would 100% be definitely up for, because reason being, I love the way they crown you a champion at the end, and nobody can take that away from you. It's like, that's why I loved about the IMAFs. You're forever cemented as the 2018 world champion, 2017 world champion, whatever. No one can take that away from you. And I feel that as well. It's like, you'd be the European champion of 2024. And I love that feeling. Obviously, the $1 million tournament, which obviously I don't think, I'm there yet. But obviously, that'd be something you'd be working towards. But I mean, like I said, I didn't break the top 10 with Bellator. So I think maybe those lads would be ahead of me for that. But yeah, like that, as I said, I just love the season format, 3 fights. I just love that. Like knowing, right, you're on this date, this place here, and you can like walk around that, have a bit of a life in the sense like that, you can organize things outside your life around it, and as well you can, say, right, this is my development stage or off season. I'm gonna get better this month and that month, and I'm gonna pull it back this month, and then when it's time to ramp it up, I'm gonna ramp it up. Whereas this kind of like not knowing when the next one is, it's hard to, So I'd love the schedule. You know what I mean? I'd love that. You know what I mean? So again, it's all out there. Who knows? All I'm focused on is a win next week.
It's an interesting thing, you spoke about there, wanting to get away from Dublin to some degree, just hopefully in one of the next fights. And I don't know this for sure, but I can't imagine if there is even anyone else, but there's probably a good chance that you are the only fighter to be with a major organization who has fought in the same place 8 times in a row, right? Like, oh, you had the Paris one, right? But
Yeah, yeah. So it would be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, like I mean, I've seven. I had seven there, in Dublin. Uh, 2, then Paris, and then 5. So and I'd be the only Irish fighter that's done that as well. Like, and but yeah, like that. I would love to get one abroad and just get that, get that feeling again, get that excitement about it, and then build the excitement again for Dublin. And then it's like, I like say the way how James is coming back, it built such excitement for him to come back to Belfast, and you know, whereas it's just like Bellator Dublin, Ciaran's going to be there, which is great. That's probably what people love as well. But for me, it was just like I needed to get out of that. You know what I mean? And yeah, so we're an hour north of where I am here, so it's not too bad. You know what I mean?
I mean, even with this one being in Belfast, from the moment they announced it, I think pretty much everyone that supports you could have predicted, maybe I should get some hotels booked in or something, because it was like, it's like at this point, if you go to a Bellator event in Ireland, what can you expect to see? Well, there'll be a cage there, there'll be some people fighting, and Ciaran Clarke will be on at some point in the night. Like, it's true what you say, that like it has become like, it's like almost part of the included ticket price now that they're going to see you fight. Because but and whilst that's great, like to have that kind of experience on a major show, and have that kind of routine, I suppose, where that you're going to be on those cards as soon as they get announced, like you said with James Gallagher and things like that, or even when obviously they got two title fights at the top of this card. It feels like that extra bit, it's that thing that when it gets announced, people go, oh, okay, this is the one I need to go to, right? Because they know you're going to be on every card. So sure, if they want to go and watch you fight, they're gonna grab a ticket anyway. But when they see, oh, Ciaran's fighting and there's a title fight and James is back, all of this, it's that added level of interest. Do you think, like, do you feed off that as well? Because I imagine it does get a little bit like, I know you said that the fight in Paris felt like a bit of a sparring session, but I imagine it feels a little bit too much of a routine at that point, where it's like, okay, we're off to work again, down to go over to the arena and do my thing, and then in a few months we'll be back here again.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. It definitely did. Like, and that's why even just they changed the arena, they changed the city.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the comfortability with that and familiarity, you know what I mean? That is a plus, you know what I mean? It's a plus. You don't have to travel and all that. But for me, it was just like, all of those external things don't really affect me that much. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the fighters would be affected by that, but for me, didn't affect me that much. Like, it's like some lads like to be able to be at home and stuff, but like it doesn't really affect me that much. Like, you know what I mean? So like for me, definitely, it just felt like Groundhog Day. Okay,
Yeah.
same hotel. Even like when they did switch up the hotels, and it was different. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I'm actually a man of routine. Like I need a routine. I could do the same thing every day. I could eat the same thing every day. The same, like I actually am fairly like born like that. But for me, it was just like I think then it was like you know I knew step by step to where we're gonna walk and where we're gonna walk. So yeah, I don't know. Just again, like I said, just felt like Groundhog Day, and I'm just glad to be. And I would really really love to get another one abroad this year.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see. I'm glad that we're doing this once they've announced the full schedule, so that that does seem like something that could happen. And like you said, maybe the Dublin card might be too quick of a turnaround anyway, so they might not have any choice but to give you that opportunity to go and fight somewhere else. So I hope it happens for you. I really do. That would be cool to see. But regardless, good to see you back out with Bellator, continuing this run, because I think that even though it would have been cool, the PFL opportunity, it also would have felt like there's a little bit of unfinished business with this run you've been on in Bellator, I think. So March 22nd should be a good one. And thank you for your time, man. And we'll try and catch up with you sometime after the fight.
Yeah, look, really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man. Thank you.
No worries, man. All right. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll catch you later.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for that,
See you,
man.
man.